We're going to prove to you this is murder, 2 counts, and reckless. We don't have to prove justification, nor is it our obligation. That's them. They have to prove that that he was justified in his actions of taking Casey's life.
The evidence will show, ladies and gentlemen, that this use of deadly force was not reckless, but rather it was due to Jason believing he was going to be shot on December 4th, 2020.
The murder trial of Jason Meade is officially underway.
The special prosecutor and Meade's defense team traded verbal barbs during opening statements, trying to make sure their message was heard loud and clear by the jury. All this while the family of Casey Goodson Jr. sat in the courtroom calling for justice. With that, we thank you for joining us for NBC4 at 5. I'm Jennifer Bullock. And I'm Jared Smalley. Before witness testimony gets underway tomorrow, jurors got to leave the courtroom this afternoon to see the scene for themselves. NBC4 follow along with the jury, 8 men and 4 women who will hear all the evidence in the case. They are in that black vehicle there. NBC4's Anna Hoffman brings us back to the courtroom with more from what both sides said in those opening statements. Anna?
Yeah, Jen and Jared, today both sides had the chance to introduce their arguments to the jury. It was all about making a lasting impression. The prosecution is trying to prove that Jason Meade knew what he was doing when he shot and killed Casey Goodson Jr., while the defense says that Meade's actions were justified and he felt threatened for his life.
6 shots in the back, all fired by the defendant into the back of Casey Goodson, with no reasonable basis.
Mr. Schroyer just told you that Casey Goodson wasn't a threat on December 4th, 2020. Now, his own witnesses are going to tell you differently.
The special prosecutor, Gary Schroyer, says Goodson went to the dentist, picked up Subway sandwiches for his family, then he heads home. He says Goodson and Meade first made contact at an intersection minutes away from his home on Estates Place. Goodson drives to his house, parking in the wrong direction and heading to the side door like he always does. Schroyer said Meade follows, and as Goodson walked through the door,
all the shots passed through the storm door, breaking the glass, with 3 shots passing through that metal mesh, 1 striking the top of the frame.
He says Goodson was found palms down, AirPods in his ears, sandwiches on the ground, and a handgun, which he was licensed to carry, also fell out of its holster. Defense attorney Caitlin Stevens says Meade has a different account of this day. She says he was on a separate mission with the U.S. Marshals in the area when he saw Goodson waving his gun around in the car. She says Meade saw a threat and radioed the other law enforcement to alert them, then followed Goodson.
He is screaming at the gunman, "Drop your weapon." He's announcing his police presence. The gunman never drops the weapon. Instead, as that gunman is trying to get into this house, he turns and points a weapon at Jason, and in that split second, Jason believes he's going to be shot because he sees the gun point at him for a second time, and Jason shoots.
Stevens says to the jury she wants them to think of this from a reasonable police officer's perspective.
The evidence will show that Jason was in fear for his life,
while the state plans to prove otherwise and show Meade acted recklessly on that day.
This is not justification. But remember, they have to prove it. They have to prove it, that it was. Our evidence will show beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of the charges that we've charged him with.
The first day of testimony will be tomorrow. Throughout this trial, both sides will bring in dozens of witnesses. The prosecution says they'll bring in people like Goodson's dentist, forensic experts, and they will also show body camera footage from other officers who were on the scene. The defense says that they will bring in the U.S. Marshals who were working with Meade that morning and also bring in a neighbor for eyewitness testimony of what happened that day. Local for you at the Franklin County Courthouse, I'm Anna Hoffman, NBC4.
Anna, thank you. Again, this is a high-profile trial. NBC4 will continue to bring you in-depth coverage. Our team will be in the courtroom to watch and report what plays out. And you can also find the latest information on everything happening at NBC4i.com.